There is always enough. Welcome back to Aaron's Daily Thoughts. My name is Aaron Finlay, and today's subject is there is always enough. It is really easy to believe that there's never enough, especially if you're in a situation of poverty where you're scraping by, you're barely getting by just to get food on the table, and it's really easy to, see the negative in the world, especially when you're going through a hard time. Everybody has struggles, and life is unpredictable. There are things that we can't predict. However, the energy you put into the things that you focus on affects your environment. It affects the things that happen to you. It affects how you react to things. And so even if everything that happens to you in your life is 100% out of your control, you can still change how you look at it. I firmly believe that there are an infinite amount of possibilities in every single situation, no matter how hard it may seem. And even if your situation literally is impossible to change just by yourself, you can still be happy. It is possible to be happy, to live a happy, fulfilled life, even in poverty. Money does not bring happiness. I've said this so many times on this channel before. Being rich does not make you happy. Wealth is simply a product of being able to find a way to make a product that people feel like they need or want, and to be able to manage that product, to distribute it. There's a lot of skill associated with business, but that's just what it is a skill. Money by itself does not bring happiness. It's all about what you do with the money. It's about how you give to others. Service is what brings happiness. Giving, building and strengthening relationships with other people is what brings happiness. There are people who are millionaires who are living unhappy, unfulfilled lives, always constantly seeking more money, more fame, more fortune, and their greed never satisfies them. Because they don't have what they need, they feel like something's missing, and so they constantly strive to get more, but it's never enough. Never enough for them to satisfy their soul. There's always enough in the universe. There is an abundance of resources, of money, but there's a lack of distribution. We have an obesity epidemic and people who are starving at the same time. All of our problems could be fixed if we just gave to other people. We have the technology, we have the resources to be able to support ourselves and sustain the entire world with what we have. We are never going to run out because the universe has a way of recycling. The universe is abundant. There are laws in the universe that show that abundance is everywhere. There's always enough. There's a law in the universe that when you give, you will receive. Some people call it karma. But no matter what you call it, it's a law. It's there. When you give, you will receive back. When you give to other people, you give your time, you give your talents, give your love. You will receive that back. And obviously, there's always going to be people who like you, always going to be people who dislike you. It's just the nature of people. You can't control how people react. But I promise, if you give love, you will always receive love back from somewhere. And there's always enough. There's always enough money. The reason I say that is because, number one, you can look at the physical side and say, well, money's constantly being printed every single day, so technically it's infinite, right? Because it's always expanding, it's always growing. But then there's the problem of inflation. So if we just stopped making money right now, what would happen? Would we run out of money Would the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich? Well, probably, but not for the reasons you might think. I do not blame people who are living in tough circumstances. I do not blame them for their circumstance. However, mindset is a huge aspect of where you are in life financially. You know, we pass down mindsets to younger generations, and that gets passed on. Children, children's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and it's just, the cycle of poverty keeps going because that's all they believe. When you pass down the belief that there is never enough, it just continues, compounds with each generation, continues down the line, and so people in poverty usually stay in poverty with the next generation. The reason isn't really because of circumstances, it's because of mindset. Think about this. If you're living on the street, you have zero money, you don't have a home, seems like there's nowhere to go, right? Seems like it seems like you're just doomed to die on the streets, and like, how are you ever going to get food? Well, think of the possibilities, though. Think of the open doors. I mean, you have a lot of time on your hands. That's nice. You have, there's homeless shelters, right? And I know those institutions are not perfect, and some of them are actually pretty sketchy, but let's say you have to rely on the generosity of others. But if you make an effort to reach out to people and say, hey, I need help, then you're going to get help. And if you give your time to other people, you're going to get time back. People are going to give their time to you. The kinder you are, the more kindness you will receive back. And like I said, not everybody's going to be kind, but the law of the universe works. I promise it works. So going back to the whole living on the street thing, there is an infinite number of possibilities, Relying on the service of other people is possible, so you can survive. There are homeless people out there who are living and breathing right now, so they haven't died. I mean, some of them probably have, but it's really sad to think about. But let's say somebody like could donate you a guitar or something, and then you start learning guitar, and then you start playing on the street, and then people start giving you money because eventually you build up that skill that to the point where people like your sound, people like the way you sound, people are willing to pay you for your skill, and there's an infinite number of possibilities. Maybe even if you can't find a guitar, maybe you find a bucket and a couple of sticks, and you start banging on it, and you learn how to drum, and you perform in the street, and people give you money, and there's an infinite number of possibilities. No matter how impossible things may seem where you are, you can change your environment. Now, there are certain things that you can't control, like how other people react to things that you do. If a circumstance is forced upon you by another person, you can't change the other person, but you can influence them, and you can do the best that you can with the circumstance that you've been given. There's a lot that is under your control, so if you change your mindset, I promise the things in your life will change. Even if it's not your physical circumstance, your happiness can change. You can be happy no matter what circumstance you are in. No matter where your physical standing is, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you can have wellness. You can live a life of abundance right where you are. I promise that there is always enough. Search for opportunities to grow. And even though it may seem impossible, All it takes is one step at a time. Take a leap of faith. That's all I have for today. Stay inspired.